Welcome to Teams Transformed, the podcast for people who want to see real team transformation.
For courageous coaches, curious leaders, and anyone passionate about unlocking the true power of teams.
We're your hosts, Georgina
and Allard,
here to journey with you through transformational insights on how to coach teams with presence, depth, and emergence.
Let's explore not just the tools, but the art of transforming teams. In this episode, we continue our work with the executive leadership team of Acme Inc. After the initial meetings and after the team engagement session, we were contracted to do a bit of discovery work. And don't you know it, during the discovery work, new findings emerged, new data about the team. Georgina and I try to make sense of these new findings. And we talk about how do we continue working with what emerges, whatever that is. Along the way, we touch upon the dark side of our obsession with gathering data. So sit back, relax, and enjoy listening to Georgina and myself struggle through this phase of the team coaching journey. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of this series that we've entitled The Team Coaching Journey, where teams come alive. We've titled this episode, Something New Emerges. Never a dull day. Never a dull day could have been another title. And it'll become clear to you why we've given it this title in just a few minutes. So remember, team coaching is rarely a one-off session. Change takes time. Transformation takes time. So there's different stages that we journey through, and there's different interventions. And what we're trying to do in this series is to give you a good idea of what that might look like. So we're not necessarily describing the team coaching journey, but we are describing a team coaching journey, and we're taking you alongside us. And if you remember in episode 1, it all began with some initial meetings and some initial contracting with Sarah, head of HR over at Acme Corporation, which is a composite of different clients that we've worked with, but that we're treating as if it were a real client for this for the sake of this series. Sarah then gave us the green light for a team engagement session with the actual team and the CEO in episode 2 of this series, and that was a few weeks ago. And as a result of that team engagement session, we were given the green light to do a bit of discovery work, and we submitted our proposal, which was accepted, by the way. Yay! Congratulations to us. And we ran we ran an assessment, which we call the team selfie. I'm sorry. The purpose of which is to generate a bit of awareness, which is, of course, the precursor to any change. And we had an opportunity to sit down with the CEO. So a lot has happened since we spoke in episode 2. And so today, Georgina and I are going to be debriefing these last few weeks. We're going to be debriefing the team selfie, the results that we just got back. We're going to be debriefing our impressions after our meeting with the CEO. And we're going to be celebrating the fact that our proposal was accepted, which is always great news. And then after our debrief, we'll come back to you and share some of our insights and some of the things that we think are important for you as potential takeaways from today's conversation. Hi, George.
Hi, Al. Thanks for that framing. That was really helpful.
I noticed I just sighed as I said hello to you. A lot has happened. We've been busy. We've been so busy.
Am I tiring you out?
Yeah, well, yeah.
No, really. Anything in the sigh?
No, I think it is. Wow, a lot has happened. And we've called this episode Something New Emerges. And it was smooth sailing, wasn't it? Through the initial meetings with Sarah.
Yeah.
And then it was smooth sailing, I want to say, throughout that team engagement session, even though it turned out to be 75 minutes long instead of 90. And we felt a bit hurried, and smooth sailing as we drafted a proposal, submitted it, and it was accepted.
Yes.
But a lot has happened now since episode 2 of this podcast.
Yeah, we met first with the chief exec, whilst in the background, our team selfie diagnostic was, team members were completing that including the chief exec. Everyone completed that. And when we got the data back from that afterwards, so first of all, I know it's 2.5 weeks ago now, but remember back to that hour-long meeting with the chief executive.
Yeah.
What stood out for you?
It was nice to have this time with John, the CEO, just as in a one-on-one kind of setting. So, without having the whole team surround him. And I noticed that it gave him permission somehow to open up more deeply than he did in the team engagement session.
Yes.
I think he shared a lot. Yeah. And kind of stepped out of his, I'm the CEO around here, energy. He shared a lot of doubts and concerns. And then, of course, he did the, well, here's what you need to know about each of the different, the 8 different members of our team. And this is what they're good at. And this is their developmental journey, the way I see it. And so he had clear opinions about each and every one on that team.
Yes, and I know there's one team member that he seemed quite concerned about and was unsure whether they were really had what it takes to be the kind of team they need to be, or whether that team would be holding the team back, which was interesting because I didn't get a sense of that at all when we were in the room together in the engagement session. So I'm realizing now as we talk that was new, that had been invisible before.
Yeah. So that's a new figure that emerges. Yeah. One of many.
One of many. Hey, the other thing that stood out for me is I'm curious how it felt for you when you left the conversation with the chief exec. But I found him in the team engagement session to be very passionate and energized and evangelistic about the organization. And in the one-to-one, I really felt confused and unclear, especially around, what is the work of the team, and what does he see the role is of the executive team in the organization? And that seemed really unclear.
That did seem unclear. And I almost felt that he was distancing himself from the team a little bit, and from that, and therefore he was distancing himself from that lack of clarity. There was the vibe that I got from him was, there's, things may not be as clear as they are, especially for the team. So can you please go fix this team and then give them back to me completely fixed? Maybe it had to do with the fact how he described people out there, not people. Yes. It wasn't a description of the team. He was describing people out there, and I felt that he was taking a bit of a backseat, almost to the point of signaling that he might not be participating in all of the different team coaching sessions, but that we would be, of course, with the rest of the team, and then somehow fix the team for him.
Yeah, fix the team for me and give it back.
Yeah. While I take a back seat.
So there's a couple of figures there. One is that I felt he was, or I was confused. Maybe he wasn't clear on really what is the purpose of the executive team. What's the work or added value that they bring as a team, and what are the goals of the team? And without that, I find, in my experience, then team members naturally try to add value by focusing on the departments or functions they lead. So team meetings do tend to become report-ins of individual departments and functions without that real compelling sense of what we're working on together. So that strikes me. And then the second one is this backseat. And I feel strongly that the chief exec needs to be fully in the coaching sessions. Otherwise, it's, I suppose, a crude metaphor. It's like a bicycle that has handlebars, and rather than a unicycle that doesn't, one with, and let's say the chief exec is the handlebars, the helping the team to steer in the most important direction they're going in. And I think it would really hinder the team coaching if the chief exec isn't there and playing his role in the team coaching. So there's something there that we need to watch for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I came back from that meeting with the chief exec feeling slightly less upbeat than I did after the engagement session.
Yeah.
Slightly more flat and a bit in my head.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think that partly maybe due to the fact that all of a sudden you and I are holding a lot of data.
Good point.
That you and I are sitting with, but that may not necessarily be shared amongst all of the different team members.
Yeah.
And I want to get to this in just a second, because there's a couple of things that I want to talk to you about with regards to the team selfie assessment.
Yes.
So this discovery phase is all about gathering more data, right? And it's not just about an assessment, or it's not just about one conversation with the CEO. It's about everything that's happening and everything that we're picking up on and everything that we're learning. We're literally discovering more and more about the team. And I think at this point we're like a step ahead with respect to the team. Team selfie is a really complete tool. It looks at, does the team have a clear vision and direction? Does the team believe in its leadership? Is the team clear about its roles and responsibilities? Does the team have access to the right structures and resources? How about the communication between the team members, the relationships between the team members, and then of course how is the team interacting with the larger system? But that's just one small piece of the discovery work. And by the way, I wish we had time for some one-on-one interviews with the different team members and not just a one-on-one with the CEO, because I think that's often a big part of this ongoing discovery work too. But so over and beyond what you've just described landed with you as a result of having spent some more time with, one-on-one time with John, there's a few things on the team selfie that I've just summarized real quick that concern me.
Yes. So share with me what stands out for you from the selfie.
Well, first of all, that John is not seen as trustworthy and credible as he thinks he is. And that is shared by, that's not just one or two people on the team that mention that, but that comes back consistently from all 8. There's that question around the leader is seen as trustworthy and credible. And that came back at a 1 out of 5, I should say.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's a real disconnect there.
Yes.
And then there's that other disconnect to be, about like you spotted about vision and direction, about the team goals being clear and compelling. And John seems to think that the team goals are compelling and clear, but the team certainly doesn't share that. And then there was one more real red flag for me in the responses that we got, which is that there's something around differences and conflicts not being managed at all. Yes. Differences and conflicts are not resolved openly and constructively. That was another 0, so to speak.
Yeah, really interesting. So we've got a difference in perception about how John is experienced as a leader. Yep. Not seen as trustworthy and credible. We don't really know what that's about, but that it's just that data point. That the vision and team goals are not clear, because John thinks they're very clear. And the differences and conflicts are not resolved openly and constructively.
Yeah.
Which really makes sense. And actually, now we're talking about that. You know what I was saying about in the one-to-one with the chief exec, and the chief exec giving you the sense that he might not even attend some of the team coaching sessions. And now that we said it out loud, neither of us commented on that in that session with John. So perhaps we've fallen a bit into some kind of parallel process where, we would see it differently. We'd see it that John does need to come to those team coaching sessions. But somehow we've fallen into a pattern that's there possibly in the system. So we'll need to watch for that and role model our capacity to name differences and to work through conflict, especially when it's a different perception to the team leader, to John. That's new. That's an important point.
Yeah. So to me, it speaks to the importance of this phase in the team coaching journey, this discovery phase. But it also shows to the difficulty of it. Yes. Because once you start digging for data, you never. Life is like a box of chocolates, right? So was the phrase, and so we've got so all of a sudden you and I are sitting with a box of chocolates.
You said you wish we'd been able to do one-to-one interviews with team members beforehand. And I know that's something in the past I've often done. And repeatedly, my experience is that I generate too much data that I am then holding as the coach.
Yeah.
All that's said in the one-to-one, all that's said in the diagnostic, the selfie diagnostic. And it's like I then feel that I've got to do something with all this data.
Yeah.
So I don't think we've talked about this actually, because I've made a change in lately in how I've been doing this, which is I do like one-to-ones with team members, and I suggest we do those as soon as possible. I like them less about gathering data and discovery, more about making relationship and contact with each team member and building those bonds of trust and openness, starting to get a sense of what's more visible on a one-to-one basis with a team member than is when they're in the whole team. And then at a later stage, what we could do is get team members to interview each other about the team. So they're gathering the data at that level around where the team's really effective and where there's opportunities for growth. Yeah. So I'm running ahead a bit into some ideas really about the design for a team launch, the next point of contact we have with them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Perhaps I'm hurrying.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fine. And we need to think ahead, because that really is the next phase in the way we conceive of the work and in the way we outlined it. We outlined it in our proposal. It's like we've got to organize a bit of a team launch or a team relaunch, maybe in this particular instance of. But meanwhile, we are sitting. You and I are sitting with on a lot of data. We're sitting with a lot of data, and so how do we deal with that? How do we debrief all of this data without showing up as and we've hinted at this before. How do we show up not as two experts, with these white lab coats on, like doctors would, with the team selfie results, exactly, with the clipboard in our hand, going, okay, we know what's going on. We've diagnosed this team, and we know exactly what's wrong. And so this is what the next 3 months are going to look like, because this is what we're going to be working on. I don't want to be seen as the expert in the white lab coat But
Yeah.
but I'm not sure exactly yet on how we debrief all this, because a lot of new figures have emerged.
Yeah. Well, I have a few ideas. Can I share those, and then you could build on those ideas?
Sure.
Yeah. So I think there's something in how we set this up for the next session to say we could send them the selfie data in advance. We could ask them to read through it. We could frame it in a covering note to them that says, this isn't a normative model. This isn't telling them how they should be. The whole purpose is to generate awareness around what's important and relevant to them. And the ask is they really think about their context, and they think deeply about what the meaning is in here, and how might this help them to express and bring into awareness some opportunities for growth for the team. So I think there's something about how we position it and how we invite them to make sense of it, so they come to the session already with some thoughts.
No, I like that idea, because we're not making more out of it than it is. It's these are the answers that you gave to a list of questions at one point in time. And so we're really just holding up the mirror and saying, this is exactly what you said. And it's not the end all. It's we're sharing this data with you because you took the time to respond to a series of questions. But we're happy that some of these things are coming to light, and we need to talk more about what the possible agenda is for the work that lies ahead. So I want to make it very clear, if we do that this is not us saying what good looks like. This is not us saying what's wrong with you or what's right with you. It's merely one step in the process of generating some awareness of what's happening within this team.
Nice. Yeah, I think it's really important to get that role, get that framing right.
Yeah.
About what the invitation is. And it's also in our presence, how we show up in the launch, that we're not showing up with the white lab coat on and the clip chart, that we're really inviting them to take a step up and in and to own this data.
Yeah. And then for you and I think all of this data is something to keep in the back of our minds, but not necessarily at this point to make it the focus, the content of the conversations, of the next few conversations that lie ahead. Because I think what I'm getting to is this difference between content and process. So
do you want to say a bit more about that?
Well, I think what's going to be more revealing than any data or any answers to questions on whatever assessment, or what's even going to be more revealing than a summary of the conversation we had with John, or summaries of conversations we might have had or would have had with different team members. What's really going to matter to me is how is the team interacting in the here and now when we are together with them, because to me that's where the real warm data is. And so we can use all this as starting points for a team launch, or bring it into a potential team launch conversation, and going, this is what you've been telling us, and all right, and we've heard you. And as you've indicated, we can ask you these same questions again at the end of our intervention, our work together. Now let's have a conversation about that. But then, as we're having that conversation, not focus too much on the content of that conversation, but much more about the process, the way in which they're having that conversation.
Nice. Well, I have a build on that as an idea. How about somewhere in the launch session, when we're together in the room, we step out of the circle. So we invite them to make sense, to have a dialogue about team selfie and any gems or insights in there, and you and I step out, and we can be observing the process, and we could contract for them around this, that we share with them a few observations after. And of course, it'd be fascinating if our observations, if what we notice, have any connection to what they talk about. But that way we can bring both the content and the process into their awareness, and make it very here and now.
And we agree, you and I, that John has to be there, right?
Yes.
This session will not take place without John.
Yeah.
He's so figural.
Really important. Now that you've brought John into our conversation, what are your thoughts on anything we might need to do beforehand, given that John's leadership is, he's talked about as not being seen as trustworthy and credible in Team Selfie. I could imagine that it's quite difficult for a leader to hear that.
I think we need another session with John, you or me. It doesn't have to be the three of us.
Yes.
But where we give him a bit of a heads up on what we've discovered so far, or again, without positioning it as the truth, but just as this is what's, this is something that's alive in the team right now.
Nice.
And it's gonna come up in our next conversation. And let it not be an excuse, to not attend.
Yes. And that help him think through how he wants to show up in the launch session, given what he's read in the data, and so give him a space to think through that, how he wants to show up.
This is why I'm always so much in two minds about all this discovery work. It's like, on the one hand, it's great to know some of these things, and on the other hand, it's like, wow, now how do we deal with all this? And how do we not alienate anybody, especially not the team leader?
How do we not generate too much resistance at this stage and start to build a container?
Yeah, especially because the team is indicating that they don't feel well equipped to deal with differences and conflicts at this stage, whether they be facts or feelings. They don't seem to have a real norm about how to resolve all that. So
so this is a real opportunity in terms of how John shows up and responds. And Al, I noticed in our one-to-one with John, he seemed to respond very warmly to you and to your way of being, and there's a gentleness to you. It seems to me your way of being is a great role model for him in a way of accessing perhaps more of the feelings, and being a man who can be open to growth and development. So how about you have that conversation with him one-on-one, so it's not a two-on-one?
Yeah. Okay, so he doesn't feel that we're ganging up on him or lecturing him.
And I hope that he feels a sense of hope and potential, and perhaps it's developmental for him in terms of how he can show up. Great. Well, we have a bit of a plan. We know we need to talk a little bit more about what we want to focus on in our team launch. But I think that's probably enough for now, for today. So for the listener,
yes, for the listener, it just goes to show, I think, the difficulty of sitting on lots of data, and then how do you make sense of that, and how do you deal with it, how do you debrief it, how do you share it, and then how do you use it to fashion a clear idea of, at least at this stage, of what the work is, work in capital letters. And therefore, how do you even start to design a team launch?
It's a really good point. I mean, one of the reasons that I have moved away from using diagnostics is that I often found that when sharing the results for the team, with a team, the team are rather disassociated and talking a bit abstractly about the diagnostic or defending the diagnostic, even though it's their responses. I found it can generate a lot of resistance. So I think there's real skill in how we bring in any form of diagnostic and make use of it. But also how a team responds to the diagnostic is part of the what is, part of the unfolding awareness of the system and how it responds to data, to pressure, to feedback, to awareness. And so it could be very, it's very enlightening in that sense and informative about how we might go forward. And
so, So one way or another, this what is will emerge. And there's not one right tool, or there's not a best tool to facilitate that process. So I noticed that I'm sitting here hoping at the end of the recording of this episode that through our dialogue, we're making it clear that there's pros and cons to doing discovery work, and that there's a real risk, I think, of generating too much data.
Yes.
At this point of the engagement.
At this point, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a couple more things I'd just like to say is that a discovery phase is not equivalent to doing a team diagnostic. You can still do discovery without doing any team assessment at all. Have conversations with people. It doesn't even have to be formal interviews. Have conversations with people. Go into the organization's offices, chat with people, see what it feels like to be in the organization, see what's published about the organization and team and what's in their context. What are some of the ecological forces around the team that are, is the organization going through some kind of merger or restructure? Have they had a lot of change in chief execs? What else is, what other data is out there? And also another way is through bringing it into the here and now. Now, in this example with Acme's executive team, we've chosen to do team selfie. It because it was meeting the team where they're at in their worldview, which is a diagnostic worldview. And equally, we could do it by just inviting them to talk about what the best possible version of themselves would be like, with us observing them in action and seeing what data comes out, what observations, what do we notice about the dance? If we were on the balcony, what do we notice about the quality of their contact and conversations with each other? So there's so much data in the room already if we just open our eyes and our hearts to take it in non-judgmentally, to see what's there.
The content is always in the room, isn't it? The content is right under our eyes.
And as you've said before, the team is the content.
The team is the content,
a model or a frame. The team is the content. Yeah.
All right. So everyone, thank you for being here today. Thanks for listening. Give us a couple of weeks while Georgina and I figure out how we want to approach the team launch, how we want to design the team launch with and run the team launch with Acme. And then we'll get back to you and continue our ongoing debrief, hopefully teaching you a few things about a team coaching journey along the way.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts and comments on where you'd go from here and what you're noticing with this team and with us.
See you soon.
See you soon.
Thanks for joining today's journey of Teams Transformed.
If this sparked a new insight or a deeper question, we invite you to sit with it, not to solve it, but to let it unfold.
For resources, community, and reflection prompts, visit teamcoachingstudio.com.
Until the next time, stay present, stay curious, and keep leaning into the art of emergence.